Hi, welcome to a Roboflow training movie. In this training movie, I will talk about how to set relations between records. I have created a Hotcollection workflow that will search in a catalog that you define for some records. And in this case, I'm just saying categories contains test Alex because that's what I assigned in the test in the catalog. But it could be any search, could be resolution, horizontal resolution bigger than or equals this or bigger than something or whatever. If you want to find, for instance, high res files and look for the low res, etc., etc. So it can be any Cumulus query. Then we are going to set a relation. Now, a relation in a Cumulus catalog is can be found here, and a relation can have a name, but in Cumulus it's easiest to define them by the ID. How can you get that ID? Just click on the line, do a Ctrl+C, go to your text editor, and in your text editor you just paste the value and it will give you the whole thing with name, etc. But all you need actually is this part, and then you can copy paste that into the workflow. Then here, this is the record, the query for finding the records you want to process. Then for each record it will perform a query looking for the related records. In this example, the relationship is defined to be in the keywords field. Can be any field you like, can be a part of a field, whatever you want to put here in this query. And then optionally you can set field values. So a field value, a name of a field for the master. If you leave it empty, it won't set any field for the master. And then here you could say a value to set. In case there's no slaves found, it could set a different value. Then there can be, for the slave as well, a field to set, like the nodes field. And then you could, for instance, pick up values from your master record and pull them into your slave record. Again, if you leave this field empty, it will not set anything. So if we have a look at this workflow in the catalog, I prepared, and I have to go to alternates, I prepared 3 records, and one here has the value of smile in keywords, one has the value of nose, and the third one has a value of eye. I have some other files in here and they have those values. So this one has smile, and actually to have one without a relation I will remove this so that it won't find a matching relation or a related file for this one, but it should find one for this and one for that. So if I run the workflow here, start, and if we do go here, what I can see is that this record with smile is actually now related to this record with smile in that field. And if we look at that smile record, you can also see that it has picked up the value. But I have a typo here. Apparently I forgot the $sign, so it didn't pick up the value. So we're going to quickly fix that. and it means that here I'm setting a value, and you can see I'm saying here that I want to set the value, but the instruction needs to start with a $sign here to pick up that value. And I can say OK, and I can run it again. And let's have a look now. If I go to my smileys, I can see here for the smiley that it has found the master record, which is called this, and it says that the keyword is nose. If we go back, so nose, keyword is nose, and it has found that clown with the nose. And I have to check here, the one that smiles says smile, and it is test smiley with smile. This one had no parameter, so no relationship. So if we look at this one, it will say here keyword was I, and it says no slaves found. If I click here, you can see that the relation does work, so it nicely brings here the alternate, and the same here, it brings here the alternate for that one. You can set and create whatever relation you want in the catalog. It doesn't have to be one of those 4 predefined ones. You can just go to the catalog, create a new one, pick up the ID and the GUID, and put the GUID in this place, and then that will work. Small quick look at the technical side of things. So when the workflow processes the records, each record is executed with this action script. For the first record, it will open the catalog and store that globally. This has already a catalog open, but because you want to do a secondary query, you don't want to lose your position or your records from your initial search, so it's safer to open the same catalog again in a new catalog collection, which then you can do your own searches in. I'm storing here the hot ID, which is actually not really necessary, but you could use it further down the workflow. Here I'm storing the query, so I'm picking up that slaves query, and so that way it can nicely evaluate the value, so it picks up the keywords field and the ID from the record. And I'm writing it to the log so that in the log file you can find information about it, and then it performs the find. It outputs the result and it says so many records found, slaves found, and then it performs a test. It says, is the result 0? Then in case the result is 0, it will check whether the field needs to be set, and if the field needs to be set, it will set the value that was specified in the record values to set for no slaves. If slaves are found, it will go into this section and it will process all the records and store each element as slave. So while the master records are called hot records, here I chose to call them slave. And so each record is then logged, as said, with the record name and which relation it's going to set. And then it's setting the relation and picking up that GUID that you have specified. And it says it sets it as a slave record. And this record can set slaves, set masters, remove slaves, remove master relations. And so in this case it sets the slave. Important that we additionally create here the query to find and the relation to find. It says, okay, it's the ID equals the slave ID, and that's how it finds that master and slave record. Then I'm also testing if there's a field value to set for the slaves in set slave, and then it will set the value for the slave. Optionally, maybe this way you can pick up values from your master and push them to your slaves. When all that is done, it will set here a value, if wanted, for the master. And then if it has just processed the last item of the loop, it will close the catalog. Otherwise, it'll keep it open so that it can be reused in the next record and the next and the next. So that's how it works. And so you can leave these fields empty if you want, and then it won't set anything, and then it will just set the relation. Here you can change the relation, you can change the query, and so everything can be personalized according to the needs of the workflow. So thank you for joining this training movie, and hope to see you in the next one.